From Divine Brother of the Light Alexander Quinn Starseed. Heart activation. What is happening right now? Dear all, what many of you are experiencing in the heart right now is not random, and it is not isolated to you as an individual either. This is a collective phase, and it is happening at both a physical and energetic level at the same time. Heart upgrades can cause some minor panic sometimes, so I want to run through this before the weekend. The first thing to understand is this. The heart is not just an organ, and it's not just emotional. It is a central regulator within your system. It sits at the intersection of your nervous system, your emotional field, and your energetic coherence. So when the planetary field intensifies, as it has done through the equinox and the solar activity that followed, the heart is one of the first places that registers that change. This is why so many of you are feeling it there. Palpitations, racing hearts, pressure in the chest, sudden surges of energy, waves of grief that don't seem to belong to anything specific, anxiety that comes and goes without a clear cause. That electric, almost overwhelming sensation moving through the body and in the chest area. These are not separate issues. They are the same mechanism being felt in different ways, because what has happened over the past few days is that the system moved through a point of equilibrium at the equinox, and immediately after, a strong solar interaction hit the Earth's magnetic field. When that happens, the entire system is amplified, and when amplification occurs, anything unresolved within the system becomes more visible, more tangible, and harder to suppress. And so what follows, the heart is where that shows first, not because something is wrong with it, but because it is sensitive to coherence. When I say coherence, I mean a multitude of energies in the non-physical all converging, because we have a new informational field of energy overlapping the old one, which the collective are integrating. As that happens, it registers a new truth, but it also registers pressure. It registers what is aligned and what is not, and what some lightworkers call the higher heart. So what you are feeling right now is a combination of two things happening simultaneously. The physical body responding to increased electrical load in the system, and the emotional field releasing stored pressure that it can no longer hold. This is why people are reporting grief with no story, sudden emotional breakdowns, old feelings surfacing, or a sense of heaviness that feels disproportionate to their current life. It is not all yours in the way the mind tries to define it. It is what the system has been carrying individually and collectively, which must now come up for release, because the heart is involved in both the physical and emotional layers, and this is partly why it can feel intense. But intensity doesn't mean danger. Really important to remember, because a lot of lightworkers panic and think, oh no, the body is packing in. Expect the worst. In reality, it's better to just see it for what it really is, which is the system now processing more than it was before, as you ascend, shall we say, in very broad terms. So if something feels extreme, persistent, or concerning, by all means have it checked out. That is not fear, that is responsibility. But where people are being medically checked and nothing is showing is closely linked to what remains in the energetic and nervous system response. And that is what many of you are in, which is good news for those feeling like they are in physical trouble. The correct approach here is not to panic and not to suppress. It is to stabilize. Slow your system down, breathe properly. Reduce stimulation, hydrate, and allow emotional release without trying to analyze it. You are not required to understand everything you are feeling in order for it to move. The more you resist it, the more pressure builds in the system. The more you allow it, the faster it passes. This phase will not last indefinitely. Some of you are already coming through the other side of it, and you will notice that when the release completes, the heart settles, the mind clears, and the body feels lighter again. The heart is simply where that process is most visible right now. I hope this helps those that have been feeling anxious or worried. Everything will be okay.